Good morning, guys. It's John from the REI Contractor Show. It's a pretty exciting day. I have my first guest on as an interview, and this is Liam Morin. He is from Profit for Contractors. Liam is one of my coaches, and I'm very happy to have him on. He is a guy that works with hundreds of contractors, and he knows the ins and outs, and he's a former contractor himself. So, Liam, thanks for being on.
Thanks, John. It's awesome. It's super cool to have one of my clients, one of my students doing their own podcast now. It's pretty meta. It's pretty cool.
It's new. I'm getting used to it. But as I said before, Liam is one of the coaches at Profit for Contractors. He's actually now the COO. He's just got a nice promotion, but
no pay increase, pay decrease.
Pay decrease. Yeah, that's right. But the best thing about Liam is he's still reachable. Like we chat at the worst time of nights. He puts up with us, just like you guys bug your coaches or your agents. This guy will answer questions at the weirdest times of the hour. So we appreciate him being on. Liam and his program there has. I've been only on it since about October 2019, and it's made a huge difference in my business and my education. So I'm hoping that. For any construction or contractor guys, or even agents listening to this, real estate investors, or just people listening to this, that they can get something out of it, and maybe it can help you guys too. So I have 4 simple questions, and I hope Elaine will be able to answer them clearly for you and be able to help you out.
Do my best.
My first question to you, Liam, and for a guy that works with hundreds of contractors, what's your opinion? What is wrong with the contracting industry?
Oh man, that's a big question. I mean, how many things do you want me to list? Do you want me to answer that, John, from like a perspective of the industry, like in terms of like the public's perception of what's wrong with it, or like internally?
Start with the public, and then the real rancher. So the public's perception of us is pretty negative as a whole.
Yeah.
But you know what? For at least half it, I believe, is justified.
Totally.
Justified because I believe this is I love this business before I say this, but I also think it's probably one of the worst industries in the world because of the lack of barrier to entry. I believe that's what it's called.
Yeah,
so,
totally. Huge. It's a huge issue.
I would like to hear your opinion on what the public's perception and what the real perception is.
Yeah, sure. Okay, totally. So, and you hit a nail on the head with something, which was that most contractors don't know that the small business failure rate for contractors is just like it's insane. 86% of contractors basically fail within the first 5 years, and another 82% of that cohort fails in the next 10 years. And that's an alarming stat. It's the second highest small business failure rate in North America. I think like restaurants is first, and then it's contractors. Again, another industry with no barrier to entry, right? Yes. Funnily enough. So I think really if I was to boil it down to like one answer as to what's wrong with the industry, is that really fundamentally it's pretty simple, man. People don't charge enough money for their services. It's basically the nuts and bolts of what's wrong with our industry. And I'll get into a little bit as to why that is and like the effects of that. And the stats prove it, right? All these businesses go out of business. Like most contracting companies, John, as you know, they don't go out of business because they're not good guys. They're not hardworking. They're not good at their trade or their craft. They don't have good customers. They just don't make enough money. Right? They don't have profits or cash flow, and then their business goes under, and it's sad because it is solvable. So I think contractors across like across every trade, electrical, construction, remodeling, everything, GCs, plumbers, dude, they just don't charge enough. They don't value themselves enough. So I think really the big problem is, guys just don't value themselves enough. And people let customers boss them around. And unfortunately, the public perception, rightfully so, as you said, is that contractors, are unethical or unreliable or hard to get in contact with, or just, they're annoying to deal with and they're a mess. And sadly, it's all true, right? So we as contractors got to take a step back and look in the mirror and go, hey, why does the public think this about us? And, because of social media, as you know, and the internet, a lot of customers, especially residential homeowners, basically think they're an expert in contracting now. Right? Because of HGTV, because of Instagram and stuff, they think, oh, I've gone on Google for an hour, so I know how you should do your job. Right? Yeah. And imagine John going into a dentist's office and being like, listen, I watched 4 hours of YouTube videos on dentistry. I know how you do your job. And they're like, did you go to 8 years of school for this? Did you do your residency? No. And contractors are no different, man. You went to school, or you did an apprenticeship, or you just like worked like a dog for 10 years and you learned your trade learning from somebody. And that experience, that all that time you put in, that is valuable. That is worth money. It's worth charging for, right? Especially if you're competing against guys who don't do that, who are just fly by nighters, right? Got a guy who's like, hey, I'm going to buy a truck and be a contractor. Because guess what? Anybody can do that, unfortunately. And those guys give us a bad name because they're the guys who we see on the street with the truck with empty beer cans in it, who don't have, golf shirts. They don't have branded logos. You're really good. Obviously the branding, you guys nailed that. They don't have any systems. They go quote somebody and then 2 weeks later the customer gets a quote and they're like, you came 2 weeks ago, where's my quote? And it's like, we're like, if you want to fail, then that's what you're going to do to kill yourself. So really, it's knowing your value and charging enough. John, I don't even know how many times you've probably seen it in the PFC program or the group, people saying, hey, I raised my prices 10, 20, 30%. And like, I'm still winning all my jobs, right? Or I'm actually winning less jobs, but I'm making more money. So it's kind of a mixture of charging enough and really having this financial literacy. So I think that's kind of, the main, like that's really, when you look at it from a statistical perspective, it's the main reason why contractors fail, the biggest part of the industry. And then the biggest thing, man, is just knowledge and education. Like, you are a great example of someone who, no offense, let's be honest, John, you did, before you joined our program, you didn't really know what you were doing. Let's just be quite honest, right?
On the business sense, I had this much clue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. You're an amazing tradesman, right? Like, you're an amazing electrician. You're an amazing contractor. Like most guys are really good at their craft. Most guys are amazing craftsmen or tradesmen, but they suck at running a business because they're two very different things, right?
Extremely.
Yeah.
It's not even in the ballpark. It's just we as contractors, we were given zero business education. I believe I actually had 2 hours of it in master electrician class.
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, as I said before, I started a business when I was 25 because I was pissed off at my boss. And
common story, right?
Quite honestly, I mean, I don't regret it because I got the experience out of it. But it's a swift kick in the ass of lessons about how little you know about the actual business world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just general business knowledge is, general financial literacy, like how to actually like read their P&L, how to actually, know that you're charging enough, how to, like, learning about markup, learning how to look at your cash flow. Like, these are the things that most contractors don't do. And unfortunately it kills most of them, right? That's just the sad truth. So I think that's really the biggest problem that's kind of facing the industry. And then, having this kind of internet educated public, right, that thinks they know everything, that is kind of holding you to the wall. If you don't know how to deal with that, then you're screwed, because then people are going to walk all over you. They're going to price shop you. They're going to undercut you. They're not going to approve your change orders because probably don't even have a form or a system for that. And then you're not going to get paid, right? And it's just let's just put it this way. Becoming a contractor, the deck is stacked against you. It's just that's it. Okay. So if you're not constantly learning and educating yourself, and whether you do, coaching like we do or anything like that, doesn't matter, man. Read books, like listen to podcasts like yours. Like, there's so much information, education available to contractors now versus even when me and you were running our businesses 10, 15 years ago, or when we were in trade school or all that stuff. You can just literally go on YouTube or go on podcasts and you can get an entire free business education.
And to tell you the truth, I've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I got started in my educational journey, is just starting to watch YouTube and then, wanting and more. But I mean, whether you're in the contracting field, the investing field, that's that's going to be my next topic. I was going to ask you is just speak on the power of education and what it could do to transform your business. And I'll tell you what it did for mine.
Yeah, totally. I think like, in terms of like one of the traits of like a really good contractor or just like small business owner, they're constantly like learning, and they're constantly trying to make themselves better. They're trying to educate themselves. They're going to seminars, they're, listening to podcasts like this, they're, taking courses, they're reading audio books, right? Like, they're just constantly trying to make themselves better. If you're not constantly, improving, you're not trying to learn or change, you're going to fall behind, man. And guess what? If you're not going to do it, your competitors are going to do it. And then they're going to eat your lunch, right? So you need to have that, like, it's like a drive, right, John? It's like this, you have to have this drive within you to want to constantly improve yourself and be better. And most contractors are like, I don't need to learn this stuff. I'm great at my trade. Like, no, I'm reading book. It's like they listen to the radio when they're driving around. It's like all that time you spend all day in your truck driving around, you can use that time to listen to the radio and waste time, or you can listen to audiobooks. You can listen to podcasts. Really, I think what it boils down to, actually, John, which is something, we've talked about a lot, is like, it's your mindset. Yeah. If you have a really just bad attitude, bad mindset, you're not willing to learn, you're not willing to, admit your flaws, you're not willing to just like to improve, like, you really can't succeed, man. Like I don't really know. I don't know if you do. If you do, great. Tell me about them. But I don't really know many successful contractors who don't have a good mindset and who don't in some way or another constantly learn and educate themselves. Like I've never met one.
The honest truth of the matter is like, I mean, you get exposed to it, but there's, out of the thousands of contractors, you might find one good one, or one real one that wants to create themselves a business, not just a job. And that's what a lot of guys don't realize, is that they're just making their own job. They're not making a business, right? So
Yeah,
once you start focusing on creating yourself a business, and you either have that drive or you don't, but like,
totally.
you know, to me, like, the business is my hobby. It's my passion. Now it's, you know, and then some people will never understand that, and that maybe not their lifestyle. But I feel like the ones that want to be great, that is their passion. I don't know what you think about that, but
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like, to me, you're either in it or you're not. Like if you're really gonna do this and be a contractor and be a business owner, like you got to be all in. You can't be less than all in, because if you are, like you said, you end up just having an eyes dress job, right? And most guys, which is sad, is most guys start their own business because, you know, they were sick of working for somebody else. The guy they work for was a dick. The guy they work for was unorganized. The guy they work for was chaotic. All this kind of stuff. And like, oh, I'm going to start my business and do it better. And they end up just becoming that guy again, right? They end up literally just making all the same mistakes, and they end up just like driving themselves into the ground, working themselves to death, and not really making any money, not having a retirement plan, you know, like all, and it's sad. And I see it all the time. Like, I mean, you know, how many people come join our program who've been in business like 10, 20, 30 years, and they've really never made any money. They don't really have any systems. They don't really have any structure. They don't have a team that's like accountable, that's, you know, responsible. And it's like, how long do you have to suffer before you really make a change, right? And the things you do now, for anybody who just started their business, who's listening, or who's a new business owner or still under 10 years, like, you know, the stuff you do now, man, it's a domino effect. It has ripple effects in 10, 20 years, right? If you don't get profitable now, you're not going to be profitable in 20 years, which I'm sorry to tell you, right?
that's where that book I just read an audiobook like that compound effect. I find that, you know, little things now make a huge difference 2 years from now. Like, I mean
2 months from now.
2 months from now, really. I mean, if you look at it, about 9 months into my hardcore educational journey, and the difference in the last 9 months is night or day. It's not recognizable. So just by making little changes now, and, you know, as a guy myself, I was a pretty stubborn guy, but you know, every system's this, system that. But then once you realize you're trying to, you know, develop a business, if you don't have systems, you are screwed.
Yeah, you don't have a business. You just have a job. Again, no systems.
So that's what I find is, you know, developing systems isn't easy, but you know what? I'm famous for is overcomplicating myself and overcomplicating things. Once you start, you know, breaking it down to simple things and just making small changes, it's actually really easy to obtain. And so, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess my last question for you is, before we move on, is your best advice for picking a great contractor from the public's point of view?
Oh, from like as a homeowner or a customer. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's basically like 3 to 5 like main criteria. So number one, like if you're the homeowner, like you have to do your research, especially the internet now. Like you have to do your research. You have to look up these contractors, you know, make sure they don't have bad reviews, you know, do they have an actual website? Like you got to do your research. That's number one. So that's on you as a homeowner. Okay. I'm sorry to tell you this, but, or you know, if you're a commercial client, whatever, you got to do your homework. Second thing is pick a contractor who actually seems to care, and who actually like really kind of just gets back to you in a reasonable amount of time. You can tell a lot about a contractor if he's good, if he's serious, if he actually like, does he pick up the phone within, you know, a couple of days of you leaving a voicemail or texting? Does he come out when he says he's going to come out? Is he on time? Does he show up like, you know, in his dirty work boots and stuff and track it in your house? Does he show up looking presentable? Does he have the before and after photos? Does he have references? Does he show you his insurance? This is vehicle branded, right? He's driving some beater truck. Not to say that there aren't good guys who drive beater trucks. I drove a beater truck for years, but you know, like the way a contractor presents himself tells you a lot about whether or not it's going to be a good experience, right? If someone can't explain to you like what they're going to do for you simply, or how their process works, or, you know, like the ins and outs of the projects, then like odds are they're probably not a good contractor. They're probably not a good fit, right? So a lot of it is fit. You know, if you don't get a good vibe from the contractor, you just feel like they're not answering your questions, even if the price is low, you're going to pay for that low price. Trust me, the low price, like that's the other criteria. It's like, do not pick the lowest price. You're going to get a bad experience. Like, I cannot I cannot stress this enough, right? If you're just as a homeowner thinking like, I want to get this project done as cheaply as possible, I can tell you, and I'm sure you can, Jot, as well, from experience, it never works out. You're going to have issues. The job's either going to be done poorly or it's going to end up costing more than when it started. Like it's not even a question. So with that, here's a good criteria. If the contractor you're working with doesn't even have a contract, like he can't even present like a contract for the job, like run away. Like run away right away. If someone's like, yeah, no, like I'll write it up for you in an email, or it's a text, or it's like a handshake deal, like that, red flag. No, he better have a contract. Why? The contract not only protects him, it protects you as the homeowner. If there's a contract in place, then you have protection, you have legal recourse, you have all these things you can do, right? So that is like number one. No contract, no documentation, run away. I don't care how good the price is. You're gonna pay for it later. Second criteria is like, do they actually have any kind of systems in place? Like, ask them about that. Like, so how do you track my job? How do you make sure we're on budget? How do you make sure, that permits are done properly, that, the subs are organized, who are your subs? How long have you been working with them? These are the questions you need to know as a homeowner. Do they have a website where they show you, samples of their work, right? Do they have a process like we're doing design-based work? Do they have a design process? Do they have a design agreement? Do they actually have employees who are like, decent, right? Like, how long have your guys been with you? Oh, I've had this guy like 1 month. It's like, oh, okay. I've had this guy, 4 months. Okay. Do you have anybody who's working for you over a year? That's probably a question to ask. Have they done jobs in the neighborhood? Do you have anybody else who can vouch for them? Like, again, are they insured? Like, if you let somebody on your property who's not insured, guys, guess who's responsible? You, right? Like, you're now liable. So if one of their guys, I think Jay was telling a story, some other roofer he knew, the guy fell off the building, commercial building, broke both his legs, like really bad, like smashed his ankles, like really bad. Like, the guy's going to be off work for months, Guess who's getting sued? The building owner. Why? Because the guy didn't have insurance. So that $5,000 cheaper roof is now going to cost that guy probably a couple $100,000 and increase his insurance premium a lot, right?
Yeah, I think people also don't recognize, especially in our industry, working on these commercial suites, is that between WSIB regulations and insurance regulations, in the end, if this is not handled properly, it's going to fall back to you, and this stuff is not cheap.
Yeah, totally.
You would have paid for a proper contractor to come on the job site.
Yeah. So and then the only other like really main criteria, I think, I've done, I've rented houses, I've done a lot of projects, is it sounds kind of cheesy, but you kind of also, and it's not really scientific per se, but you got to kind of go with your gut too. Like, if you're getting a bad vibe from the contractor, you're just like, man, there's something not right here. Like, usually your gut's right, like in my experience. And again, it's not a very scientific method using your gut, but I've found for me that when I didn't listen to my gut, or if I had like warning signs, I ignored them, it always backfired. So you have to just kind of use your better judgment. And again, if the guy doesn't have just anything really behind them, then I don't care what the price is. You got to walk away. So just go with the contractor who's reputable, who's known in the community. Ideally, go with someone who's been in business at least 5 years, because problems are probably they have their stuff together and they're not ready to go bankrupt. And don't do cash. Like, I cannot stress this enough. If you're a homeowner and you're trying to save money on tax and all this kind of stuff, and you want to do a cash deal, again, there's no paper trail. Something goes wrong. Those guys are usually fly by night and they're gone the next day, right? So don't do that. Don't give out like absurdly large cash deposits, right? If someone's like, hey, I want 50% down for this project and it's $20K and I want cash. Like, if you give that person $10,000, like, they can just take it and run away. There's literally nothing you can do about it. You're never going to get that money back. You can sue them. You're never going to find them probably, or never really get the money out of them. So, again, nickel and diming yourself as a homeowner is usually a recipe for disaster, is what I find,
My opinion on the cash thing is, if a contractor, and if you ask for a discount in cash and he gives you more than the tax cash, he does not know what he's doing to begin with, because we actually lose money on cash transactions. We don't
exactly.
So a contractor that takes the cash and does it for par is actually losing money. So, and that means he has no idea what he is doing.
And it means he's going to cut corners.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no recourse on him. It's hard to find. You have to prove it at that point. There's no paper trail. There's no nothing. That the courts aren't going to be able to help you.
No, the courts are useless, like for small claim stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I never understood the concept of cash on a large scale. I mean, I can see, fixing a piece of deck on your backyard. I could see
yes, like you have an odd job Bob come for $50, right?
10, 20, $100,000 projects in cash does not make any sense to me.
Without a contract, it's
Without
madness.
It's
mental. It's absurd. And I think for all the, like, I know you got work with a lot of real estate investors and all that kind of stuff. Again, no offense, but again, I know a lot of real estate guys are just trying to get it done quick and cheap because they're trying to get it ready for sell or for show or whatever. Spend a little bit of extra time, spend a little bit of extra money. The last thing you want is something failing on an inspection and then you lose the deal or it holds up the process, right? Like, do it right. You have an ethical obligation to your clients as a realtor. You have to get it done properly. You have to get stuff. Oh, does it have to be a code? Yes, it has to be a code.
Yeah.
Like, is that a freaking question? Like, yes, you got to do things. You're doing electrical. You better oh no, we can just put a pony panel on and like, no. Oh, we can just double up there. It's okay. No, you can't. You got to do this properly. You want to burn the house down? Be responsible for that? I don't think you do.
I can speak about that one for 3 hours. We don't have that time today, but
yeah.
No, that's great. I appreciate your advice on that. Yeah, you know what, guys? When it comes to contracting industry, there is some fantastic people out there.
Of course.
But you know what, guys that are fantastic, I think will go the extra effort to set themselves apart. And as for follow Liam's directions on picking contractors, that's all great advice. We'll talk about this more in another series, and I'll have a list for you guys. But this has been awesome. Liam, my friend, I really appreciate it. And, I look forward to having you on again on the next subject.
Yeah, man, this has been awesome. And yeah, if anybody, wants to learn more about what we do or how I work with guys like you, John, you guys can just go to profitforcontractors.com. So it's all one word. Just go there. You can download. We got tons of free tools. We got our book. We got resources. You can book a call with our team. We're on Facebook. Just go to, Profit for Contractors or on Instagram. Or if you just want to chat with me or someone from the team, just go to Contractor to CEO. So Contractor to TOCEO.com/apply. You can book a chat with our team. And I think really that's just that website name is basically what we're trying to do with people is take guys from being a contractor, right, to being a CEO, to being a business owner. And there's a lot of, and I don't know why, John, but there's a lot of negative sentiment. There's a lot of negative just mindset around this business owner idea, right? Of you got to be a contractor and business is bad and the businessman thing is bad. It's that. No, it's that's good. That means you're making money. That means you're running a business, right? So I think a lot of guys get hung up on the whole oh, I don't want to be a business guy, or business guys are unethical or something. But I don't think it could be further from the truth. So I think, yeah, if you're struggling, if you're sick and tired of working 80 hours a week, you're sick and tired of being on the tools all the time, you're sick and tired of missing how many times did you miss family things, John? You're missing your life go by, you're angry, you got a short fuse, you're eating garbage all the time because you're always on the road, you're stressed out, right? You're having employees, come and leave all the time. If that's you, then yeah, go there, click a call with us. We're happy to chat with you guys, message us on Facebook, and just start networking. Just be like John, get out there, meet other contractors, meet other people who are like-minded, who are trying to improve their business. I think really, John, you're a perfect example of the whole thing of who you spend time with and who you hang out with and who you surround yourself with is a direct reflection of your success, right? If you're hanging out with other losers who are greasy, you're hanging out with those kind of guys, then that's who you're going to become. But if you're surrounding yourself with other contractors who are trying to better themselves, then you're probably just going to, by association, you're going to improve. And John, how powerful is our community, the PFC, in terms of being able to network with the other guys who are above you or below you?
There's about 300 people in this group, approximately, give or take. And there is some people in there that are just starting out. There are some people that have been in business for 10, 15 years that are a wealth of knowledge. That I've run into some major problems in the past. Well, what I consider major, I consider emergency problems. Could be Sunday morning at 9 a.m. I could type it in our private Facebook group, and I could have 3 or 5 answers on the spot in an hour. There are some amazing people in this group. There is some amazing coaches. In the last 4 months, I've seen them add 5 different coaches. So, we have a mindset coach, we have a sales coach, we have a head coach, we have a processes coach, we have a accounting coach, we have a bookkeeping coach, and then we have the head coaches. So there's pretty much no problem that can't be solved pretty quick in this group. So as I said, if there's younger guys out there, or if you're a contractor or a handyman that is just stuck on the rat race, feel like they're running, I highly recommend investigating this program. It's changed my life in 9 months. And you know what? It's not just about money. Just tell you the truth. My number one goal was time. And as everyone knows, as business people, or you guys that are working 40 hours a week and then so to do something on the side, time is way more valuable than money. And what I've gained is I've gained 15 to 20 hours back in the first 9 months a week by just doing things, better. So I highly recommend investigating this. And it's what you're saying about the CEO thing. When you start out a tradesperson, you like what you do, but you want to be on your own. And then you realize quickly that you can't do both. And it teaches you how to become a business person. And when you become a business person, you're going to offer a much better service to your customers.
Totally.
If you're on the tools all the time and then you got customers calling and waiting, can't get answers back, you can't do both. So eventually you got to either decide to, for the lack of a better word, get off the pot and create a business. So that's my 2 cents on that. And again, Liam, you're awesome. I appreciate you coming on, buddy. And I look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, totally, man. Can I give one closing thing, just as I got to do it, is just as a contractor too, the one thing that you got to get off your plate first, the one thing you got to just make sure is proper first, is you got to get a good bookkeeper and accountant. It's not your job to do that stuff. It's not a good use of your time. They know it better than you. So you need to find, whether it's someone local or if you want to work with people that we work with, like Bob at Gover and Associates, who's just an absolute monster, you got to get that off your plate, because it's just going to hold you back and it's probably going to kill your business. So if you don't have QuickBooks, you don't even know your basic, accounting stuff, you don't track your financials, like that's going to derail your business pretty quickly. So make sure you find a local good bookkeeper and accountant. Or again, message us. We can put you in touch with Bob, who works with John. But it's key to success, right, John?
Not just yes, hell yes. I've learned. Yeah. I screwed that up so bad in the beginning that my new accountant is still working on fixing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. So that's my kind of last parting piece of advice. Thanks so much, John, for having me. This is awesome, and look forward to the next one.
I appreciate it.
Okay, cheers, dude.
See you, man.
Bye.